kick-ass. It's Double Dragon. Originally released in the arcades in 1987 by Technos, it was a spiritual sequel to the first beat-em-up ever, Renegade, but introduced several new additions such as 2-player co-op and weapon pickup. Then in 1988 it got its first port on the NES, and it kicked ass. The graphics for Double Dragon are pretty good. The backgrounds look great, but the character sprites are really just more detailed black box graphics. For 1988, it could have used a little more shading. The sound effects are nicely done, but the soundtrack is absolutely incredible. Man, just listen to that intro. Yeah, it just pulls you in and just gets you ready to kick some ass. The gameplay is a prime example on how beat 'em up should play. It has all the standards for a beat 'em up, mainly because it set the standards. As a port, it steers pretty far from the original arcade game, but the gameplay is still intact, but many changes were made to the NES port. For one thing, there's a level up system. When you beat up everyone in sight, it builds up your experience. If you reach 1,000, then you get a heart, and when you get a heart, you're able to perform new moves, such as a jump kick, grappling, and being able to punch your opponent when they're down, which was never seen again. Another thing that they changed is the level design. Now you'll get new enemies in different places, and there's a lot of platforming, but it's simple stuff and doesn't happen until towards the end of the game. Though they changed the levels up a lot, they still resemble the ones in the arcades. But the most noticeable difference is the lack of 2-player co-op, which sounds like a bad thing at first, but if you think about it, you can see why they left it out. At this point, Ikari Warriors was the only game on the NES with co-op, but it had smaller sprites and simple animation. And Double Dragon had much bigger sprites and more complex animation. Plus, in the later stages, there would be so much stuff moving around, it would just cause way too much lag if there was just one more sprite. Plus, in the same year, the Sega Master System got its own Double Dragon port, and it had 2-player co-op. But that was way too laggy, and that was even on a more powerful console. So since there's no co-op, they added a mini fighter instead. It's pretty decent. You have a nice selection of characters, but the computer always has to pick what you're picking, which is okay, I guess. And the computer always gets more life than you, which doesn't really make any sense. But the 2-player is pretty fun, and it's way better than Urban Champion. Overall, Double Dragon on the NES is a kick-ass game with an incredible soundtrack and great replay value. If you have an NES and you don't have this, then you need to go buy this now. And if you have a Wii, then you have no excuses, because you can buy this for $5. What a steal. Double Dragon gets a 4 out of 5.